A rising Navy captain had a closed-door conversation with Trump. Hours later, the whole country was debating her words. The sky over Norfolk Naval Station in Virginia was clear and wide, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of salt and steel. Rows of sailors stood at attention in their crisp uniforms, faces a mix of discipline and curiosity. The visit had been on the calendar for weeks, but anticipation hung heavy in the air. Donald Trump had arrived. His motorcade rolled through the base gates, black SUVs slicing across the open tarmac. As the lead vehicle stopped, the press moved into position, cameras raised, microphones ready. The door swung open and Trump stepped out, exuding his signature confidence. He adjusted his suit jacket, scanned the crowd, and flashed that familiar grin. "Great to be here," he said, his voice cutting through the hum of activity. "You've got the best sailors in the world. No doubt about it." A polite round of applause followed. Some sailors stood stoic, hands behind their backs, while others exchanged glances. Whatever their personal opinions, today wasn't about politics. It was about the military and respecting the chain of command. Rear Admiral Jonathan Rees stepped forward with a firm handshake. "Welcome to Norfolk, Mr. President. We appreciate your time." "Absolutely," Trump replied, nodding toward the rows of sailors. "These are the people who keep America strong. We owe them everything." Rees gestured toward a waiting platform. "We'll start with a tour of the aircraft carrier, then move to the command center for a briefing. After that, you'll have the chance to speak with some of our officers." "Sounds good. Let's take a look," Trump said, eyes flicking toward the towering carrier in the distance. The press followed as they walked toward the dock, snapping photos and recording every move. The visit was routine. Shake hands, show support, remind the world that America's military was second to none. But beneath the surface, something unspoken hung in the air. Aboard the USS George H.W. Bush, they navigated the maze of corridors, passing sailors standing at attention, eyes locked forward. The rhythmic clang of boots echoed through the ship, a disciplined, unwavering scene Trump had seen before. In the briefing room, after the usual security updates and operational reports, a spontaneous moment shifted everything. Trump leaned back in his chair, tapping his finger on the polished wood table. "So tell me," he said, scanning the officers, "who here's been making waves? Who's the real deal?" A pause. Then Captain Dawson's name came up, a young officer in her early 40s with a reputation for tactical brilliance. She was known as a leader who didn't just follow protocol but truly understood the battlefield, the risks, and the sacrifices. "She's right outside, sir," an officer said. Trump raised an eyebrow. "Bring her in." The doors opened and Captain Dawson stepped forward, shoulders squared, eyes steady, uniform immaculate. Her ribbons reflected years of service and sacrifice. She hadn't expected this, but when she met Trump's gaze, she didn't flinch. Her presence shifted the energy in the room. Trump smirked, leaning forward. "Well, well, they say you're the one to watch." Dawson didn't hesitate. "I don't know about that, sir. I just do my job." The room fell silent. Something about this moment, the collision of two worlds, felt different, but no one could have predicted how far this conversation would go. Trump leaned back slightly. "How long have you been in?" 18 years, sir." "That's a long time." He folded his hands. "So tell me, what's the biggest challenge you faced as a leader?" It was a loaded question. She could have given a safe answer about strategy or international tensions, but something told her to speak her truth. "Earning trust," Dawson said. "As a woman in command, respect isn't handed to you. You have to prove yourself over and over again." The room stayed quiet. Some officers shifted in their seats. Trump's eyes narrowed, but he didn't interrupt. She continued, voice calm but firm. "Every decision I make is scrutinized more than my male counterparts. If I'm tough, I'm seen as too aggressive. If I step back, I'm seen as weak. And that's before we even talk about leading sailors who are trained to question authority when it doesn't look the way they expect." Trump let out a short breath. "That's interesting. But let me ask, do you think that's changing, or is the military still stuck in the past?" Dawson considered. "It's changing, slowly. But change in the military doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and it takes leadership willing to push for it." Trump smirked slightly, as if amused by her directness. You don't pull punches, do you? I don't have time to. A beat of silence. A few quiet chuckles from officers at the table. Even some of Trump's aides exchanged glances. It was rare to see someone meet him head-on like this. Trump tapped his finger on the table. People don't respect weakness. Never have, never will. You say you have to prove yourself. That's life. You got to earn it. Maybe that's what makes you better than the rest. Dawson met his gaze, unreadable. She knew what he was doing, flipping the narrative, reframing struggle as an advantage. Maybe there was truth to it, but she also knew the constant need to prove oneself could break people before they ever had the chance to lead. Before she could respond, a voice from the hallway interrupted. "Sir, the press is waiting." Trump exhaled and stood. "All right, Captain Dawson. I like you. You're sharp." He glanced at the officers. "You could all learn a thing or two from her." With that, he turned toward the exit. But Dawson didn't move. She saw it. The journalist just outside the door, phone in hand, eyes flicking between her and the former president. She had a gut feeling this conversation wasn't staying in the room, but she had no idea just how fast the world would react.